that I keep in mind when I'm shooting a horse with navicular disease is there's kind of three factors that I kind of use a combination of one of the three. And one of them is reducing leverage off the toe, which takes tension off of that deep digital flexor tendon that I talked about. Another you can do is wedge up the foot, which also takes pressure off of that deep digital flexor tendon, therefore takes pressure off the navicular bone. Or also you can put a bar shoe on, which basically the thought behind that is the back of the foot hurts, and so the bar shoe stabilizes the back of the foot, makes it to where it can't move as much, and so if something hurts, you just make it move less, and it tends to help some horses. And usually you kind of use a combination of two of those, whether it's a bar shoe with some elevated heel, or a bar shoe with the leverage taken off the toe, or a shoe with an elevated heel with a wedge pad or something with the breakover brought back. Kind of usually it's a combination of two, and you talk to a bunch of different farriers and they all kind of have their combination of some kind of shoe package that they like to use. And it changes depending on the horse, because like we talked about a little bit ago, what's actually wrong with the horse is different with each horse. So some horses, the foot looks real good, the hoof pastern axis is real good, so you probably shouldn't be wedging that horse up, but you could. It wouldn't be nothing wrong with that if you decided that's what the horse needed. And anyway, so it gets kind of complicated, but those are kind of the three principles that I keep in mind when I'm deciding how to shoe a horse with navicular disease. I did a previous video on another horse I have that I'm shoeing right now that has navicular disease, and I have that horse set up a little different, kind of using those same principles to set up a little different. And I did a video on it a little bit ago, and so I'll link that video here if you want to go check that one out and see the different way I have that horse set up. And right now I probably have 4 or 5 different horses that have navicular disease, and I have them all set up just a little bit different depending on the horse's needs and stuff. And so that's what kind of makes navicular disease complicated. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And so this isn't something that you should run and tell your farrier, hey, I saw this thing online and this is the way I want you to shoe my horse now. Just let him do what he knows, and he probably knows best for your horse. And what we're doing here isn't necessarily what your horse needs. Okay, guys, enough of me babbling there. Let's focus in on what we're doing here. So I've got the horse trimmed up, and I've got the shoe shaped, and what I'm doing here is just going to walk over and check my fit on the horse. And I was kind of bummed. My camera got bumped and was pointing off in Timbuktu. I wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing, and so I didn't get to video how I shape aluminum, because that was kind of a game changer when I learned how to do that, because I used to just shape it cold and you really wring your hands and beat the shoe till you're blue in the face trying to shape aluminum. And so learning how to shape it hot in the forge was a game changer for me, so I wanted to show you guys that. But anyway, unfortunately the camera got bumped off, and so I'm going to change some stuff up on this horse since I did this shoeing job. I've been thinking and trying to figure out how we can better help it. And so the next time I go do it, I'll get that videoed, and in that video I'll make sure my camera's good, and I'll be able to show you guys how I shape aluminum. So make sure and keep an eye out for that video, and you can see her progress. You'll notice when I put that shoe up to the foot to check my size, smoke didn't come off. When you're shaping aluminum, you're not getting it as hot. You're not getting it hot enough to actually burn it on the foot. So I was just grabbing it with my tongs there, just so it's hot enough to burn my hand, but not hot enough to hot fit on the foot. And okay, so while I'm getting this shoe nailed on, I'll explain some stuff I did. So while I was shaping it, I put a roll on the toe, which basically just puts a bevel on the toe. Again, going back to those principles of taking leverage off the toe and taking stress off that deep digital flexor tendon. And anyway, and so I did that. And then also this shoe, you can see the step up on it. And so what that shoe does, I'll give you a little side profile view right here. So you can see as the horse is just standing there, it acts as a wedge. And actually, if you zoom up here, you can see that there's actually an air gap right there between the heel of the shoe and the ground. So the idea is, as the horse is just standing there, or as he's standing there eating or whatever, you're unloading the heel of the horse that hurts and shifting the weight forward on a different part of the foot that doesn't hurt. And that seems to relieve pressure on the horse's feet. Also, the other thing is, you can imagine as that foot's coming through the air, horses land either flat or slightly heel first. And if they are landing heel first, they're basically coming down and pounding on that part of the foot that hurts. And so that little step up, as it comes and meets the ground, the idea is that catches the ground just ever so slightly and puts the foot up on its toe. and makes it to where it doesn't land heel first, and therefore takes pressure off the heel of the horse and hopefully makes it feel better. So that's kind of the mechanics behind this shoe. Okay guys, moving right along, the next thing we're going to deal with here is this horse has been kind of struggling with thrush. Me and the owner have been working together to try to get this under control, and so this time, and then explain how we treat it. So basically the bacteria is called Fusobacterium necrophorum. It's kind of a mouthful, so I just put it up there on the board for you so you can see it. A little bit about this bacteria. It's a gram-negative bacteria, anaerobic, which means it needs an environment that doesn't have oxygen to be able to survive well. Kind of a fun fact, that's the same bacteria that causes hoof rot in cattle. I didn't know that until one of my classes in vet school, but learned that and thought that was kind of interesting. So now that you know a little bit about the bacteria, the big thing, the important part about that is that it's anaerobic, which basically tells you in the presence of oxygen it dies. And so that's why it's such an important thing if you have horses to be cleaning out your horse's feet and expose the bottom of that foot to oxygen, because that's like taking away the oxygen to us. It kills you. And so that's what you're doing to the bacteria when you're cleaning out the feet. You got to make sure you get down in those sulcuses on each side of the frog to really help that out. And so the product you saw me use there, it's kind of my go-to for thrush, is a product called Durasol. And the reason I like it is because a lot of times that bacteria actually eats away at the hoof tissue and actually eats down to sensitive tissue. So the bottom of the hoof can get tender from thrush. And so this Durasol has some properties in it that actually harden up the bottom of the foot. And so I feel like one that may be a little tender-footed because it's basically walking on the sensitive parts of his foot because the thrush is eating away all of the protection. I like Durasol because it gets in there and hardens it up and helps the horse get back to feeling better while also treating the thrush. And like on this horse, the owner and I have talked, and she's going to get out here every day and get that foot cleaned out real good and see if she can't get ahead of it. And that should work. But like I said, stay tuned. I'm going to do this horse here pretty quick and get another video out to you guys, and I'll show you the progress on the thrush. Before I kind of wrap up our topic of thrush, I forgot to mention why it's so important to get thrush out of the bottom of the horse's foot. Besides making the horse sore, kind of the long-term effects of it is as it kind of attacks the frog. I mean, it'll get around the other part of the foot, but it mainly goes after the frog. And so what it does is it eats away that frog and it gets smaller. And the frog is an important part of the whole hoof. And what it does is as it expands, it helps the foot expand. The foot naturally wants to contract. And so if that frog's not big and plush and full of moisture and all that, then that foot's not expanding and contracting normally, which helps with venous return of blood and helps just with overall healthy foot. And so if the thrush gets in there and eats away that frog chronically over a long period of time, you're going to end up with contracted heels and a whole slew of other problems. Okay, guys, our time's kind of run short on us. If you got any questions about thrush or navicular, make sure and go down in the comments and ask us. Be sure to let us know where you're from. Here's some after pictures for you. Hope life's treating you well. Remember, be sure to stay tuned for our follow-up on this horse. Be good, and we'll catch you next time.